Hello and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 146 at scavengerlife.com. And today's Jay's laughing at me.
You got really good at that.
It's just so automatic.
It's like the only professional part of the podcast.
Wait, you're saying the rest of our podcast is not professional?
It's much more cash.
Well, we're getting real casual today, and we are answering your questions because they have been building up the last week.
Yep, currently we are in San Francisco, California.
Beautiful, beautiful San Francisco.
Yeah, it's really weird. We actually lived here for a little over 2 years, and we haven't really spent time in the area we're in this time. We're like down by the...
It's Fisherman's Wharf,
right.
So it's a very touristy area, and I think that's why, because why would we ever come down here, you know?
But it's
gorgeous.
Super beautiful.
Oh my God, the beach is it's beautiful. I was like having a moment today. Jay thought I was annoying. I was like, it's so gorgeous here. Why didn't we ever hang out here?
Yep,
So,
and so we're here to do our other kind of work that we do. We do a couple of these jobs every year, maybe 4 or 5 of these jobs. And we always like to come a day early, so we went and we checked out the scene of what we're going to have to do over the next 4 days. And, it's... I find that I think we're organized people to begin with, but us having run our eBay business for the past 6 years has really gotten it super organized, and I can feel it when we're doing our other job. And I know that that's one of the reasons why we get work, because we come at it like we do our eBay store. We're like, we break things into parts. We take care of everything.
You're especially good at that, so I'm very glad that you're good at that, because sometimes when, I'm really good at the technical stuff. All day today, I was making sure I knew all my little, things and details I needed to know about my part of the job, and you did that too, in person. So I think that's a good team right there.
Good team effort. But I guess my point is just, I think if you run an eBay store, I think that it helps you in other parts of a person's life. I
totally agree. It also makes you very sensitive to customer service at restaurants and at every aspect of business.
Yeah, we're like the worst people. We're the worst customers because we'll go out to eat anywhere and we just we're like, I wouldn't do it like this. I wouldn't do it. I do it like this. I do it like this.
We expect very high standards, and when those don't happen, we are very disappointed.
Although, to be fair, we keep it to ourselves. We are not the kind of people that, I don't know, make a big scene. We just definitely... I think it's just when you start to run a business, you just start to notice how other people do it, and it's all choices, It's your choice of how you treat customers. Right. It's your choice whether to ignore if something's happening or not.
It's your choice to be organized, have your business organized.
It's your choice,
efficient.
We go into places, and it's just amazing. You just see there's no... a love there. It's like someone started the business for a reason. I guess they were in love. It's with it. And then it's just kind of an autopilot, and it's really just kind of run poorly,
I mean, yeah. I find that with a lot of restaurants that we frequent, where you're just like, there's no efficiency here. There's no, need for this place to run properly.
I'm not being made special.
Right.
Okay, so today we are going to answer people's questions. They've kind of backed up. You can go to scavengeriatlife.com, and on the right-hand side of the sidebar, there is a form where you can send in a question. You can also email us. But also, if you don't want to do that, we just encourage you to go onto our blog and just leave a comment. So, not only us can give you advice, it can be other people as well. But we got a bunch of people that have sent things in over the past week, and we're just going to go through them today because, we'll always have an opinion on something.
That's right.
And just to be clear, though, we're just people on the internet. I just want to be real clear about that. We're not experts.
As if you didn't know that already. Yeah. We are just people on the internet.
I think sometimes because we just do this every week, for some reason, people think we have some kind of status or it makes us experts, and we aren't. We're just people like you who have an eBay store, and we just like to document our experience. And we've been doing it for a while. We're glad to share with you our experience, and we're just coming from our own point of view. So that's why when we post this, we always love that people tell us ways that they do things.
I'm an expert in old shoes.
Yeah, dirty old shoes.
Dirty old shoes on the internet.
Okay, Zach actually just had set in kind of an answer to us. Ryan was talking about how we got a package where the buyer had to pay more postage.
Yes.
And it's because he says that anything over 12 inches
is oversized
for the
USPS.
Yeah.
And so actually,
is that true?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Several people have said it, and I should just check their website. But what I have been doing is anything over 12 inches, like I did send a bigger box this week. I made sure I put the dimensions, into the label input, and then paid that proper price and made sure that it was correct.
And its price been significantly more than it normally would be?
No, but this particular box was in the very next state over, so I don't think there would have been like that much of a discrepancy. But no, it wasn't a huge change. So
I mean, we've just talked about this when you're filling out eBay labels. It's interesting that they have that field there, like put in how big the box is, but it's totally optional.
Yeah, it's an optional.
And that's why I think we were just ignoring it because you didn't have to do it. I feel like if it's that significant of a price change, that they should be like, you got to fill this in.
I think for me too, and I'm not trying to like skirt around the rules. It was just that I use a majority priority boxes, which are not oversized, and poly mailers. So I just was like, oh, they don't make you do it. That would be a pain for every single object.
Or in that field, it needs to say if it's more than 12 inches.
Right.
Then you must do this.
Right, exactly. And it doesn't do that. Yeah. So it's a strange thing that I'm learning after 6 years of doing eBay. Yeah. This is kind of crazy.
So, Gordy, a couple of these are not its questions, or more just comments from our last podcast a week ago. He says, because we had talked about how we have piles of stuff that I've even taken photographs of. They're just sitting in this online folder, and Ryan doesn't want to.
Gun holsters, as I mentioned. Gun holsters. Which boring.
Wasn't sold, actually.
Wasn't sold.
But, things where if you're not interested in something, then you're not going to be excited about putting it up. And Gordy just says, like, I have a hard time listing it.
Women's coats.
A women's coats. Even though he knows it's worth a lot, he doesn't like to do it.
And you know what, Gordy? Me too. Like, the other thing about women's coats, unless it's like a Burberry, they just don't sell very well. And I have a crap load of them listed, so I need to go do something about that.
Well, I think they sell if you lower the price. So we've talked about this. I think when a lot of people get started on eBay, especially ladies, the first thing they do is they sell ladies' clothes. Yeah. So there is a glut of women's vintage clothes and newer clothes on eBay, and I feel like it's just, you really have to compete on price,
Yeah, I think you're right. So I need to go in there and adjust some things, which I don't usually do. Like we always say, list it and forget it. But these are listings that have been there since we moved into our house, which was 3 years ago.
Every rule has.
Oh my God.
Every rule has a exception.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
Sometimes
you can always contradict yourself. That's fine.
But there's that guy on the blog, Brian is his name, and he's been posting its numbers, and they're incredible. It's numbers where he's selling 68 things, 75 things in a week, and making over $2,000. And he says I guess it's him and his wife, and now he has his wife's sister, and it's kind of becoming a family thing, and they get clothes at the Goodwill outlets where you buy by the pound,
right?
And they sell, and he gets pretty good prices. I think it's yeah. So, but I think I'm sure he'll say this on the blog. I'd be interested. I think he does a mix between things that probably sell for $20-ish and things that sell for $80, and then the average is about
Yeah.
in it's between there at 40.
Okay, next question. This is actually not a question; it's a statement. Again, Priscilla says, and this is cool. I have a story to go with this too. Here's a report on an offbeat item to sell. The keypad on our otherwise perfect stainless steel GE Spacemaker microwave died. We could not give it away on Craigslist. However, so far I've netted $70 just selling the turntable ring, the wall hanging bracket, and I expect to get $50 for the door. Now,
that is some scavenger shit.
No,
right
seriously, because you know why? When we bought our house that we're going to do rental on, it's a really nice GE stainless steel refrigerator. But whoever was using this refrigerator broke all these little, like, things on the inside.
Like the door panels.
The door panels were all gone. The crisper was, like, broken in half. Those things cost so much money. Like the crisper, just that plastic bin, it was like $50 for the crisper. And then it was like $20 each for the little, like, handle things on the sides. And so, yeah, exactly. And I was like, any little piece of this GE fridge that I can find the model number for, I am selling on eBay,
And it's funny, we have 2 cars. We have a truck, and we have a 1996
Acura Integra Special Edition Maroon.
So this thing, it's coming up on 20 years. We're hoping to get it to 300,000 miles. We're
close. We're like 260.
We're about a year or two away from getting there. But Ryan, and it runs great.
It runs beautifully.
It looks ugly because it's just been through a lot. We've driven it.
We have a cracked windshield. It's dirty.
Seats torn up. It's just dirty. We treat it like a truck.
A truck, yeah.
Okay, bottom line is, Ryan says, if for some reason the engine were to ever die, what we do is we just start taking it apart.
Yeah. We're going to part it out.
Yeah.
Because you know what? I think I could make... Okay,
more
first
money.
of all, I will say the Acura/Honda are some of the top selling cars, for people to soup out cars.
Well, they're some of the top stolen cars because people like to,
And I will say for a fact, our car got stolen in San Francisco when we lived here for about a week.
And we
got it back.
Because they stole it. Some kids probably stole it. They parked it 5 blocks away from our house, and they tore out the seats and the
front
spoiler.
Seats and the spoiler.
Yeah.
And I had to buy a new spoiler.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
That selling parts. And actually, I've heard on other blogs people do that, like those coffee maker things, those like coffee makers.
They part those out. That's right, they do. Sometimes it's a pain in the ass to do that because you're like, oh boy, this is going to take forever. But, we're patient people, so.
But, and I think that's a good example, something we've been talking about on the blog about. Some people are like, I can't find anything to sell. And
part out your refrigerator.
And there's a lot of us who are just like, you got to be crazy. It's everywhere. It's just, you just have to look at things in a different way. Yeah. So you can buy old coffee makers, you can buy this, and then just part it out. But it's all about like finding things that excite you.
Well, finding things that excite you, and also what our first motto was, starting this blog, was finding the stuff that everybody thinks is garbage, and that is the point. You're like, just like Priscilla said, the Spacemaker microwave, it's perfectly good, except, obviously the buttons don't work, so that's a huge part of a microwave actually working. But that's a really creative part where most people would just put it on the side of the road and forget about it. But you're going to make like $100.
And those are great too because things are part numbers on them.
Exactly. And so I will be a nerd here. You can find schematics online for parts, like the GE fridge that we have. I found like the full schematic of like every single part that makes up that refrigerator so that I could look on the picture and know exactly what the part number is called and, the serial number for it. So that is helpful for your model. You can find those online. Okay, so Mr. Cool, nice name, says, I frequently get requests to ship to countries that aren't covered by global shipping program. I decline these sales in order to avoid an immediate trip to the post office. Can I ship this stuff with labels from my computer? Yes, you can. And the way I do it is I just check the global shipping box, and then I go underneath that on the listing and just say, for all other countries not covered, I forget what it says. You just say, for me, I do priority international, like USPS, and you can just print that label through eBay labels, and that totally works. And I will say that global shipping program is starting to cover a lot more countries. I've seen several countries in the Middle East get covered in the last month. Like, I've shipped to people, in those countries that it was never covered before. So that's really, really good.
And Steve, there's a couple Steves. I think it was Steve T. He said that he shipped something to French Guyana.
No, it was French Polynesia.
Got it. And that the person wrote and said they got the package, but the package had been opened and there wasn't anything in it. And here was his problem. He didn't use a shipping program, and he didn't put insurance on it. So really, the answer is he's screwed, because
he is screwed.
It's just his word against a buyer's word, and the buyer will always win. And so you can ship to countries that aren't under the global shipping program, or even if they are, but what you have to do is you always have to get insurance.
And now here's the thing.
And you get...
Let me just tell you about insurance, because it's a pain. Okay, yeah. So here's the thing about insurance. If you want to insure an international package through the post office, you cannot buy that online. You have to go to the post office, which is a pain, because you can print the label, but you have to go to the post office for the insurance. So what I do is I use ShipCover. It's a third-party application, and it's free. I mean, it's not free, but you pay for the insurance, but that's all you pay for. You don't have to pay for it monthly or anything through eBay. So I use that for any international ones that aren't covered through global shipping. I only ship priority international through the USPS because it has full tracking, and then I get insurance through ShipSaver. And that's what you need to do to be covered.
And we've actually had a couple of things get lost, and they paid.
Yep.
It's been good.
Exactly. You got to be covered, especially if it's expensive.
Now, it's interesting. We have another question right after this, and she says, are there any countries that you block or won't ship to on eBay?
Nope. I ship everywhere. I ship to every single country. It does not matter, because if USPS ships there, and I think they ship to almost every single country, except for like Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, there are some countries that just people won't go to, and we don't obviously ship there because it's impossible. But if the post office says they'll ship there, we'll do it, because you know why?
Insurance.
You just do insurance. And and we do priority too, because there's tracking on it. And people say, oh, but it's so expensive. But you know what? That's the thing. If someone in some random faraway country wants to buy an item, I mean, they shouldn't be, it's nickel and diming you, because very few companies will ship there. Like, I think if you try and buy something through like llbean.com, I'm almost positive they don't ship to, the kind of stranger countries. Yeah. So all of us are actually doing a service by being willing to ship to these places.
Yeah. Now, people will try to nickel and dime you on that. And I'm just like, this is what I ship. I don't ship first class international anymore, because first of all, it's going to take 2 months to get to you. And you can insure it through ShipSaver, but it's not worth it to me. Now, this is from someone called Cash from Closets, a tip that others may already know. I was listing some collectible china, and it didn't come up as eligible for global shipping. So I changed the category to a more generic home/kitchen/plates, and then it was eligible for global shipping. And now it's listed to so many more countries. Yes, I have done that too, where if I've listed something, just like you said, under collectibles, or not art, but like something else, like sculpture or something, and they won't cover it, I'll put it under like mid-century or just something more generic.
Which is so weird because I guess eBay, they don't want to have to be, it's responsible for something that could be worth
collectible,
more.
I see. Even though you could sell it in kitchen home plates for $100 and the same price, you know?
Right.
But yeah, so that's a really good tip. Like, if it's saying it's not eligible for global shipping, think of a more generic category for it, and it should be fine. Okay, so someone asks, do we have any suggestions for safely cleaning pots and pans, mostly aluminum or stainless? It depends on like what kind of grime is on them. If there's like, if you get like a Revereware pan and it's got like coated grease, like cooked on grease, I'll usually use like Goo Gone or Goof Off. That stuff is pretty nasty, but it works really well. Or what I'll use is like I think it's called Barkeeper's Friend, and like a Scotch, one of those green scrubbies, cleans it fine every time.
But honestly, if we pick up a pot and it's so dirty that it's going to take, an hour or two to clean, we normally don't get it unless it's like some amazing...
Unless it's like a Dansk, like aluminum, a Dansk enamel, like mid-century modern something. I'll get that.
But even I think we passed up a couple of those just because if they're that grimy, they often have a lot of scratches and just...
Yeah, they've been worn out.
Yeah. So, honestly, we get things that are cleanable in pretty the obvious ways. Just, water and soap and just a scrubbing. But if it's too far gone, we just don't really worry about it.
It honestly has to be very special for us to, like, really scrub it. And by us, I mean me. There's always a pile next to our sink that's for me.
Yeah, Ryan's the sink cleaner. I'm the shoe cleaner.
Yes. Jay polishes every shoe that comes in the house. So someone named Ginger asks, this is something I've never come across in the year of selling on eBay. A U.S. buyer bought something from me using Buy It Now. I sent them an invoice to ship to the U.S. address that they provided through eBay, and the buyer contacted us and asked if we could ship it to their vacation home in Italy. I tried changing their address myself in the eBay shipping label, but it won't let you change the address if it's outside of the U.S.
I'll give my thing.
Yep.
Normally, as long as we're having this conversation on eBay...
The messages, yeah.
Right. Then we just go for it because that... in my mind, would protect us because we would say, look, the person said to ship there. Like, what do you want me to do about it?
But so specifically, just to be technical here, you cannot, if the person lives in like Arkansas and they move to the next town over, you could change that address on the label if they gave you the new address. If they did what this person says, they have a U.S. address, but they want to ship to Italy, you cannot change the country through eBay labels. You are not able to do that. I have tried because I've had similar situations like, hey, I'm in the U.S., I'm usually in the U.K., and so what you have to do is you have to get your buyer to change their shipping address themselves through eBay. And then you can either through PayPal or eBay labels print that label. Or, here's another thing. You can get those messages through eBay, so that proves that you've, got the address and you've agreed to it through the eBay messages. If you want to go to the post office or go to USPS.com and do a click and ship label or stamps.com or whatever, and upload that international tracking, that should still cover you. Those two things should cover you. You've got tracking, again, you've got insurance to go to Italy, and you've provided all the details.
But I totally get where Ginger's coming from, where...
you don't want to lose that sale.
But, where you're kind of always on the edge, like, okay, I sold something great, and then it starts becoming complicated, and then you're just like, this is taking 2 hours of my time trying to figure out. The good thing is that once you figure it out, you'll now know what to do the next time it just happens. And if you're a seller and you sell regularly...
it will happen again.
Stuff like this happens every couple of months. I don't know, every 6 months. It's just...
Yeah.
it just happens, you know.
I mean, we said before, like, we've dealt with people who are like, I want to buy 5 things from you. I'm in Sweden.
I mean, we also,
you're like, "Oy."
and you know, and she says, and she's afraid of getting negative feedback from its buyer that can't understand why it can't be done. I mean, number one, we never send long, complicated its messages to buyers. So we're never trying to explain to them our heartache and confusion and frustration and how crazy eBay is, and because they don't care.
They just want you to change the address. What's the problem?
All we say is, this isn't as simple as we thought it was.
Right.
We're working on it. It's going to get done.
Right.
And that's all, you know. So.
And the other thing is, and this is another complication of it, because you're going to send it to Italy, it's going to cost a whole lot more.
Right.
So then you're like, well, how do I deal with that? Do I send them an invoice through PayPal, and then you have to wait for them to pay that invoice?
Well, but, I mean, that's an easy one. Be like,
that's
sure,
easy.
I'll do it. It's going to cost you $40 more. Here's an invoice. And until you pay it, it's not going to get shipped. You know?
If this guy has a vacation home in Italy, I think he can afford it. I'm just saying.
But as always, you also have a choice, or we have a choice.
Yes, you have a choice.
If someone does this to us, we can be like, you bought it assuming one thing, and now you're changing it. We don't want to sell it to you.
Right.
We're going to cancel this transaction, buy it someplace else. I mean, that's a totally logical choice.
Right. And the other thing, too, is what's kind of crazy about some customers is it would have been a lot easier for you if they had just contacted you before they bought it and said, hey, what should we do to make this happen? Instead of like, oh, BTW, I'm in Italy, send it there pronto. You're like, thanks.
But the whole point is just not to have a sale become like a soul-hurting experience, you know.
For either one of you.
Yeah, I mean, if it's ever like that, just cut it off and just...
We've definitely, I have canceled transactions for customers that were becoming insane. Yep. I have been like, I am not selling to you. You are making this way too This one woman, I think she was in Canada or Montreal, and she was just being crazy about when it will exactly get there. Is it in perfect shape? And I was just like, you should not be buying used things on eBay from people in the U.S.
Right.
Like, you should go to a retail outlet, try your clothes on.
Right.
Like, you're just crazy.
Yeah.
And she ended up buying it through, like, a different username that I blocked. I swear to God, I blocked her 3 times with different usernames because I could tell it was her.
But she eventually bought it.
She was obsessed. She bought it.
And it was fine, you know?
You know what, though? I think you said to her, you were like, we know you're going to return this. And I think because we said that, she was like, well, now I can't return it, so I have to buy it, you know?
Yeah. You know.
Anyway.
I mean, our thing is, I think people like... I think in general, most people like boundaries, and they also like kind of to be ordered around, I find. And so,
no, it's not even ordered around, but it's you just being like, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And you can take it or leave it. And people are like, oh, okay, I really want it.
So Brian Boberg, who is one of the OG commenters on our blog, he has an interesting question. These are the questions I love. They're like the blue sky... It's questions. He's like, what do you think is a maximum store size that you could handle just the 2 of you without employees? I'm including everything like being able to ship 100 items a day consistently if your store and sales ever got that large. So, so right now we have 3,500 items. We sell currently about 35 items a week. During the holidays, it normally gets... double that.
Yeah, hopefully.
So what could we how much could we actually
I couldn't ship 100 things a day. There's no way.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't be able to have time to list.
I think the kind of things that we sell, so they aren't the things that, a lot of them aren't things that you just
throw in a poly mailer. Yeah.
I bet maybe 20 items a day.
So what we always find hilarious is when shipping so many items, it gets annoying. And we're like, is shipping annoying yet? Because that's a good sign. That means
Right.
you're making money. Annoying to me would be 15 to 20 items a day. I would be like, I literally don't have time to do anything else.
Right. But that also would be pretty amazing because for the average price that we're doing now,
Yeah.
that would be,
A lot of money.
you know, that'd be like $800 a day at least.
I could live with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it would definitely be a luxury problem.
Yeah. But again, like you said, and when I say 20 items is a lot for me to pack, it's like, there's a lamp, there's a vintage blender. Okay, there's an easy t-shirt, but then there's a breakable mug. So
Right.
it's like, those take time.
I mean, I think that's why we talked about that on our last podcast, that guy who I watch his YouTube, his video, and he showed his eBay store, his it's my eBay, and he showed that they ship like 125 items over a weekend.
That's insane.
So he is doing 40 items a day.
That's a lot.
I mean, that's incredible.
They must both pack and ship, because I would be like, I don't have time to like eat lunch because I live in a warehouse.
I think the good thing is too is that I find that just over the course of the time we've had an eBay store, it's just kind of a natural, it kind of seems to work itself out, you know? Like when we're not traveling and we're at home for 4 or 5 months at a time and we focus just on eBay, you know, we bulk up, we're selling a lot, and then when we get in these periods like we are now when we just aren't listing a lot, and we're just depending on the fact that we've done a lot in the past.
Yeah.
We don't sell quite as much, and then it's comfortable to our lifestyle.
Right.
So,
right.
I mean, that's why, as we say, things only sell if you're constantly online and listing.
Yep.
And if you aren't going to sell a lot.
Yep.
You know.
Okay, Donna says, in Seller Manager, do you ever see update price, meaning eBay thinks that you should lower your price? I have so many of these, and I think that we do a good job of researching before pricing. Do you guys have these too, and can you comment? I've never seen that in my eBay or Seller Manager. I don't know if I'm just not looking.
I thought you said eBay.
No, so this is what I see, and this is what, and Katie Burt had mentioned this like a month ago. When I'm listing, I don't know if this is the same thing. When I'm listing, it'll say on some categories and some items, this is the price range that these sold for. So this is the average price. Do you want to use this price? It's kind of like Amazon kind of does that too when you're listing on Amazon. And if you're like, okay, the average price was $36. That's pretty much what I was going to put it at anyway. That's what I'm going to do. You know, I'll do that frequently. But I've never seen this like update your price.
So I'm going to show Ryan as we're sitting here talking what you're talking about, because I told you about this the other day.
You did?
It says right here.
Okay, I never look at this page.
So if you're on your My eBay, the main page,
the activity page,
kind of like the first box up front, it says update title, update price, update global shipping.
I will say this as we're looking at it, update price, it says new. So that is a new feature. So I've never seen that.
Right. And so we also have 1,500 of these. Whoa.
Ooh, something just sold as we're talking.
We also have 1,500 of these that eBay says that we need to change the price. So I just clicked on it, and it gives us this huge, like...
it's a 500-page list because it's the bulk editor.
And yeah, you know, it says, like, it's like our buy now price is $120, and they're saying it should be priced at $25.
And we're talking about a Burberry silk tie. Of course, maybe $120 is too high for a Burberry silk tie that's used. But they're like, sell it for $25.
I think for us, I mean, I don't know. This might be interesting to go look. I mean...
I should look at this.
And maybe it means that we need to go back and do our research again. But a lot of them are like, really like, we have it up for $29, and they're saying like, but 25.
Nah.
I think the other thing too is this kind of stuff, and the way Amazon does it too, is when everyone's competing on brand new items.
Yes.
And so there isn't a lot of like emotional value to it. They're just kind of like junk from China. So it's really easy to just find the lowest average price. I think for the things that we all sell, a lot of it is very emotional or, a vintage item.
It's hard to find.
eBay can't do an algorithm that really does a good job because, you could have two of these vintage items and one is going to be definitely worth more just because it's in better shape.
Right.
Or it has a label on it that people will pay more for.
Like tonight we were walking down this touristy street in Fisherman's Wharf and there was a baseball hat shop, where you can buy every team, every logo, whatever. And we were looking at the prices and like some of these really nice baseball hats, I thought they were nice quality and everything. They were $19. That's how much I sell my baseball hats for, $19, $24. But then I turned and we were like, we got to think about our prices. But then we were talking about it and I was like, but the ones that we sell are like the vintage logos, like the original, like ones from the 70s or ones from the 90s that aren't made anymore.
I mean, even when we say it's vintage, it just means like maybe it's a one from 10, 15
it's
years
their
ago.
old logo.
It's like just ones that, So someone when they were a teenager had it in 1995, it looked like this, and now it's 2014, it looks a different way, but he's willing to pay $40 for that, whereas a new baseball cap is $19.
Right. So just like we're saying, there's a reason why. It's like Chris the Coin Guy says. He's like, there's 4 points of like emotion to certain things, and so you're trying to like rack up those points.
Right. I just want to be clear. We talk about having all these rules to how we sell, and I will never not look at what we say to make sure it's right. So we think we do good. It's research and price things well, but we'll always go and look and just double check. Yeah. So if eBay's thing helps you kind of double check and look, and then if you feel good about it, then just go for it.
Right. I mean, my thing is when I see that average price suggestion, a lot of times I'm like, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm definitely putting this up higher with make offer because I feel strongly about it. Just ignore it. If you feel strong. And then, in 6 months, you're like, all right, they were right. Bring the price down. I don't know. I almost never do that.
Yeah, I think it's the difference, too. If you have an item where if you go online, eBay, there's like 3,000 of the same exact one. You got to compete on price. That's an Amazon thing.
Right.
But if you do its research and there's like 20 of the things.
Or less.
Or even 30, you can be in the higher range knowing that eventually the cheaper ones will sell off and you'll be left there. So it may take 6 months, but eventually someone's going to get to you.
Also, I'm hoping if you're listening to this podcast, you have better photos and a better quality listing than the 20 other ones that are listed.
Yep, exactly.
So you can charge more because you're going to be a seller that people know, you're going to ship on time. Yeah. You're going to,
And that's why I love people. I love people who sell on auctions because they aren't our competition because those people put up their item and they sell it off real quick and it just flushes it out.
Yep.
And then those of us who do buy it now, we're left standing there when the collectors come and when the people who are willing to pay more show up.
Yep. Marie says, I really enjoyed the interview with the USPS guy. This is kind of silly. I have heard that if you put fragile stickers on your packages, that often postal employees will be extra harsh with those packages. So I'm hesitant to put that sticker on packages. Any thoughts about this? Actually had an unclaimed package come back to me upon which I wrote handle with care, and it was pretty beat up. Okay, let me just say this. Almost every package that goes through the postal service, if it goes all the way to your person and then gets held in a post office for, a month and then gets sent back to you, it's going to look beat up no matter what. I mean, that's just the reality.
We normally would not read a question. It's like this. I'm sure this is a very nice person. But this is the kind of tone of question or comment because it's not even a question really. It's just someone stating some fact that they've heard somewhere.
It's not a fact.
And this is the kind of stuff that you read on the eBay forums. I mean, Okay, so there's a couple things you break down here. And she says, I've heard that if you put fragile things on packages, the postal employers will break the package.
Throw it around. Where did you hear that?
Yeah, so...
Who told you that?
You need to back that up. Like, your disgruntled neighbor. Like, I mean, who told you that?
Someone at your postmaster? Did they tell you that?
Then you have to think it through. The United States Post Office has like over 100,000 employees. So what this person is saying is that there is a binder somewhere that every employee gets, and there's some line item that says, if you see a fragile package, a fragile sticker, you need to step on it. I mean, that's insanity.
That is, like, really think about what you're asking. That's insane.
We have shipped thousands of packages.
Thousands. 10,000 packages.
And you know what? We've seen some of that where just boxes get kind of beat up because I'm sure someone threw it off a truck or something fell on it. But you know what? Most of them come in great shape.
Pristine. Yeah, exactly.
So I just want to say, it's Marie. Just I want you to look at the way you're thinking about your business and how, and these other organizations who are part of your business. I see our post office as one of our best friends. You know, I'm drinking coffee and she comes and she gets the stuff. She's great.
Yep.
I'll often help her bring the packages to her truck. You know, we give her honey for Christmas time and
honey
and a tip.
And money.
Yeah, honey and money because
and she likes it.
We're so thankful. And she will actually come even if we don't ask her to pick up, just to check
to see if there's a pickup. That is your ideal postal worker right there.
Yeah. So I think it's good to have, I think it's good for all of us to see the best in people.
Yes.
And then if there is a problem, then you can look at the problem honestly.
Yeah.
But when you start painting with a broad brush, oh, eBay is trying to kill my business, the post office, they're just trying to crush all my things. Then you just start seeing the world as like this evil place, and I don't know why you wouldn't even want to participate in it, you know?
Okay, Ike Boy in northern Vermont says, I just got an offer for an item from a seller with zero feedback in a foreign country. My instinct tells me to simply block this person. What does your instinct tell you? That's a tough one. But
trust me, anytime we see a buyer who's never bought anything, especially if they put an offer in, we're always like, oh no, Here we go. But look, we have sold a lot of items to first-time buyers. All the time.
We see that they have one feedback. I look at their feedback, and it's from me because I have automatic feedback once they pay. So
and you just have to think, like, everyone's got to start somewhere, and eBay has a system, and if they bought it from you and they've paid you and they've put their address in there and you do tracking and insurance,
you're fine.
You're covered.
Think about this. They have zero feedback. They're in who knows what country they're in. You accept their offer. If they don't pay, you just do an unpaid item. Granted, that's a pain in the ass, and it sucks because you thought you had a sale and you didn't. But nothing will happen. You're just like, you just relist it.
But, we've
that's
definitely...
the worst.
Yeah, right. We've definitely had that too, where some guy in, like, some weird country... got online, got bored, thought that he would try and buy things in America and just realized didn't have a credit card or something.
Right.
I don't know.
Or just...
It happens.
Yeah, but there's nothing really bad that can happen because of it. Okay, my favorite username ever, Nickels and Diamonds. You have to say it with a southern accent. Yeah. I hope you're in Texas because that's a very Texas name. Says... RSS and updating your listing. I heard a woman on eBay radio say something about how it makes your listing appear as new listings. How do you update your eBay RSS? I have no idea how to do that. I've never heard of it.
It's mentioned on the blog that there's a way to go in and there's a feature where you like
refresh it,
unlist things, and then you wait a couple hours and then
oh God, I would not have time to do that.
So look, please, no one take any of this personally, because this is another one of those things. It's like, I heard someone say, There's, it's just like, it's a
It is on eBay
rumor.
Radio.
It's just something that someone said, and here's the deal. If it works, then we all need to be scientific about it. So what you do is you go to your store and you do a search for an item, and you see where your item shows up in that search. So maybe it's like number 20.
Right.
So then you should be able to do this. You should be able to go in, refresh your RSS feed, and then you do another search, and your item should show up top. Then it absolutely works. If it doesn't, then it's just something that someone said on the internet. Just like we're just people on the internet, But when people start saying these things of how things work without any evidence, then it just becomes noise, and it becomes a lot of waste of people's time.
I mean, for the last year and a half, I've heard people we have a little tiny mailing list that is not active at all anymore. But, there were certain people on that list that were like, I end all my listings, have them end, and then I relist stuff. And I'm just like, I'd rather be listing new items. Like, I just do not have time.
That was another one that people said was, don't do good till canceled on your items.
Do 30 days.
What you want to do is do 30 days, then let them totally end, and then re-list them as if they're brand new items. And then somehow it shows up higher on the search. And we actually, and I've talked about this, we did that. We ended 3,000 items, re-listed 3,000 items.
What a pain.
And we didn't get any more sales than anything else. I mean, so...
And the other thing, too, that we always say is, if eBay's search algorithm or Cassini or whatever the F is eBay's search, if it can get gamed that easy, then it is a shitty algorithm.
And
I mean, honestly, it's so silly.
And I know there are probably some people who are nodding their heads like, yeah, that is shitty.
It is.
But come on, guys. I mean, as much as... eBay has issues. I get it. It works on a day-to-day basis for us. Like, we're making a living. Things are selling. We're shipping stuff, I don't think they do themselves any favors, but I just think when people are making extraordinary claims, you really have to back it up with extraordinary evidence. And that's all we ever try to do in this podcast or on the blog. It's just like... We should just take a step back, everybody. Let's not be emotional about things, and let's really see what works and what doesn't work.
And I like actually that all of us can compare notes, because it's like with the whole defect rating thing. I called, to get defects removed, and I had this experience. 2 other people have commented, they called, they had this experience. So let's all pull that together and figure out what the hell's going on, Right. And instead of, I heard if you called, this might possibly happen if you call at noon instead of getting the foreign call center.
Yeah, I mean, so let's all just, none of us have extra time to waste, and... That's what we're trying to all do here, is just let's focus on what actually works. So if you have a tip where you've actually shown that it works and you want to share it, we want to hear it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Or if you have a very specific source of, what's great is when people say, I heard this, here's the link to where it was written about.
Like someone... wrote on the blog, and I think he was a very well-meaning guy, but I just think we get in this habit online. He's like, I heard from this guy that eBay was going to make all returns be 90 days.
90 days.
And I was like, I've never heard that. Where'd you hear that from? He was like, oh, this other guy. And then I was like, well, is there a link? And there was no link. What I did do is I linked to the holiday its return, where during the holidays, if you want to remain top-rated seller, top-rated seller plus, you have to offer that 90-day
extended holiday return.
And that's actually pretty normal for a lot of retail stores, so it's not anything specific to eBay. But I've never seen any actual link that shows that it's going to happen
forever.
Everyone, and that everyone's going to have to do it. And people are saying it as if it's real, and it's like, no.
Where's the evidence?
Yeah, just show the evidence.
We're like scientists with white lab coats. eBay scientists.
So I hope this wasn't too much of a ranty podcast. I think maybe
we get a little.
I think maybe
ranted.
we're a little kind of wound up because tomorrow we wake up early and we have the next 4 days of pretty intense work. That's not eBay, just other kinds of work.
Yeah, so. It's a lot to prepare for mentally.
So actually talking to everyone here has been
it's been relaxing.
Nice. Yeah.
Hopefully I'll be able to edit this podcast and put it online.
Yeah, talk about that is commitment on Ryan's part.
Yeah, give me credit.
Yep. Gotta find an hour to edit this and post it.
Yeah, I listened to the audio on like chipmunk voices. That's how I edit it.
Fast forward.
Because basically I just need to cut out parts where you and I are like, because actually it's kind of interesting to explain because people are like, what do you edit out? But it's like when Jay and I are like, oh, did we answer that question already? Wait, where'd that other one go? I mean, I cut all that out because it's so boring.
Every so often we actually have an argument during the middle of the podcast where we edit out.
There have been times where we've had such bad arguments that we had to stop the podcast and resume like later that day. That has happened.
Maybe
a few
one
times.
Maybe
no, we're not going to keep it in.
We'll do like an uncut podcast where people can hear
all the fights.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I want to do one day? All the fights, though. Yeah. I wanted to like speed it up and actually like post it that way because it sounds actually really funny when you like listen to it on fast forward when we have chipmunk voices because you get through the podcast like 3 times faster.
That's how it's Mikey. He plays audiobooks and he goes through like 10 audiobooks a week because he plays them at like whatever 1.5
speed. Yeah.
I feel like I need the time just to let things.
Well, what's funny when you listen to things that I do between 1.5 and 1.8 depending, once you stop it and listen to it normally, you sound like you're talking like this. It's weird. You're like, wait, that's normal? That sounds weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is going on forever and ever.
Okay, guys, thank you so much, and I hope you've been packing and listing and shipping.
And not bored by us talking on forever.
Oh, don't say that.
Don't say that. Okay.
Bye.
Bye.